Imagine an ordinary morning somewhere in Europe in the early 1940s. A small apartment, a wooden table, a kettle warming on the stove. A mother pours tea while her husband scans the newspaper. Their young son rushes around the room, trying to finish breakfast before school. Outside the window, the street looks quiet, but something feels different. Soldiers are marching down the road. New rules are being announced on loudspeakers. Shops that once belonged to Jewish families now have broken windows. Neighbors who lived there for years have begun to disappear. At first, the changes seem small, but within a few years, millions of families like this will be gone. Between 1941 and 1945, Nazi Germany carried out one of the most horrifying crimes in human history. 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were murdered. This event is now known as the Holocaust. But the Holocaust did not begin with camps or gas chambers. It began slowly, with words, with ideas, and with the dangerous belief that some people mattered less than others. In 1933, Adolf Hitler became the leader of Germany. Germany was still struggling after World War I. The economy had collapsed. Millions of people were unemployed. Many Germans felt humiliated by the harsh terms of the peace treaties that followed the war. Hitler promised to restore national pride and strength, but his message was built on something darker. He believed that only certain groups deserved to belong to the German nation. In Nazi ideology, Jewish people were portrayed as enemies. They were blamed for economic problems, blamed for political instability, blamed for the suffering many Germans were experiencing. These ideas were repeated constantly, through newspapers, through radio broadcasts, through speeches and propaganda posters. Children learned them in school. Over time, the message became familiar, and familiarity can make even dangerous ideas seem normal. The discrimination did not remain just words. Soon, it became law. In 1935, the Nazi government introduced a set of laws known as the Nuremberg Laws. These laws stripped Jewish people of their rights as citizens of Germany. Jewish doctors were no longer allowed to treat non-Jewish patients. Jewish teachers lost their positions. Jewish businesses were boycotted or taken over. Children who once sat together in classrooms were suddenly separated. Jewish people were forced to wear a yellow Star of David on their clothing. The symbol made them instantly recognizable. It marked them as different. It marked them as unwanted. For many Jewish families, everyday life began to shrink. Friends stopped visiting. Jobs disappeared. Opportunities vanished, and fear slowly became part of daily life. By the late 1930s, the persecution had become more violent. In November 1938, a wave of coordinated attacks swept across Germany and Austria. Synagogues were burned, Jewish-owned businesses were destroyed, thousands of homes were vandalized. This event became known as Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. The name came from the shattered glass that covered the streets the next morning. Thousands of Jewish men were arrested and sent to early concentration camps. For many Jewish families, this moment was a clear warning. The situation was becoming far more dangerous. Some tried to leave the country, but escaping was not easy. Many countries limited immigration, and the world did not yet fully understand what was coming. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland. World War II had begun. As the Nazi army expanded across Europe, millions of Jewish people suddenly fell under Nazi control. The persecution intensified. In many cities, Jewish communities were forced into enclosed districts called ghettos. These ghettos were surrounded by walls and guarded by soldiers. People were not allowed to leave. Inside, conditions were terrible. Families were crowded into small apartments. Food rations were extremely limited. Disease spread rapidly. In the Warsaw Ghetto, hundreds of thousands of people were packed into a small section of the city. Children wandered the streets searching for scraps of food. Many died from starvation and illness. But the ghettos were never meant to be permanent homes. They were temporary holding places, and the next stage of the Nazi plan was already being prepared. In 1941, Nazi leaders developed a plan they called the Final Solution. The goal was simple and horrifying: to eliminate Jewish people from Europe entirely. This plan led to the construction and expansion of extermination camps. Soon, trains began arriving at the ghettos. Families were ordered to gather their belongings and prepare for relocation. They were told they would be sent to work camps. Many believed this. They packed carefully: photographs, clothes, family heirlooms. Parents tried to comfort frightened children, but the trains were not taking them to work. They were taking them to death camps. Across occupied Europe, a vast network of camps had been built. Some camps were used for forced labor. Prisoners worked long hours in brutal conditions. Many died from exhaustion, starvation, or abuse. But other camps had a single purpose: mass killing. Places like Auschwitz, Treblinka, Sobibor, and Belzec became the center of this system. When trains arrived, prisoners were forced off the rail cars and lined up on a platform. Within seconds, guards made a decision. Some people were selected for forced labor. Others were sent directly to gas chambers. These chambers were disguised as showers. People were told they would be cleaned and disinfected. But once the doors closed, poisonous gas was released. Within minutes, thousands of people could be killed. The entire process was designed to be efficient, cold, organized, industrial. Despite the overwhelming brutality, resistance still existed. In ghettos and camps, secret groups formed. Some people smuggled food to starving families. Others documented what was happening. They buried diaries and reports, hoping that someday the world would discover the truth. In 1943, Jewish fighters in the Warsaw Ghetto launched an uprising. They had very few weapons. They knew they could not defeat the German army, but they chose to fight. Their resistance lasted weeks. It became a powerful symbol of courage and defiance. Across Europe, some non-Jewish families risked everything to hide Jewish neighbors. If discovered, they could be executed, but many still chose to help. Even during the darkest moments of the Holocaust, humanity did not disappear completely. By the late 1940s, the tide of the war had begun to turn. Allied forces pushed back against Nazi Germany. As soldiers moved deeper into occupied territory, they began discovering the camps. The scenes they encountered were shocking. Thousands of prisoners were starving. Many were too weak to stand. Mass graves surrounded the camps. The full scale of the Nazi system of murder was finally becoming visible. Soldiers and journalists documented what they saw. Photographs and films were taken so that the world would understand the reality of these crimes. By 1945, the scale of the tragedy became clear. 6 million Jewish people had been murdered. Millions of others were also victims of Nazi persecution. Roma communities, disabled individuals, political prisoners. Entire towns and communities had been destroyed. Families had vanished. After the war, international trials were held to prosecute Nazi leaders responsible for these crimes. These trials established an important principle: that those responsible for crimes against humanity would be held accountable. The Holocaust remains one of the darkest chapters in human history. It shows how prejudice and hatred can slowly grow into something far more dangerous. It shows how propaganda can reshape how people see one another. And it reminds us how fragile human rights can be when societies stop defending them. Remembering the Holocaust is not only about looking back at the past, it is also about protecting the future. Because history teaches us something important. When hatred is allowed to grow unchecked, the consequences can be devastating. And that is why the story of the Holocaust must never be forgotten. If this video helped you understand this part of history more clearly, please take a moment to support the channel. You can help more people learn these important stories by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with others who might benefit from watching. And if you have thoughts or reflections after hearing this story, leave a comment below. Your voice helps keep these conversations alive.